All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Steve Davis, and I am the Associate Vice President of Engagement with the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. And I'm also the staff liaison with the Alumni Association for the Black Alumni Network. And we're happy to partner with them once again today for this panel. The focus for today's panel is on the road to Black entrepreneurship. And we have some great alumni and community business owners that are happy to share their journey and kind of give us some stories, to signify their journey during this Black History Month and Career Month. Before we get started with the presentation, I would like to thank our Alumni Association members and donors for making initiatives like this presentation possible. We have a special offer for Career Month participants. If you become a member during February, at mnalumnimarket.com/career month. You can choose one of 3 items that will be accompanied as part of your membership. Career Month is made possible by many great partners that are shown on your screen right here. Our presenting sponsor, Freedom Financial, is proud to sponsor Career Month because quality education and career development align with their mission to help everyday people move forward towards a better financial future. Their suite of financial solutions has helped hundreds of thousands of consumers take control of their finances, reduce their debt, and get a path on financial freedom since 2002. The UMNBAN is greatly appreciative of all of our partners, including Freedom Financial, that's really kind of made Career Month possible. We also want to thank MEDA for sponsoring this panel. MEDA helps minority entrepreneurs succeed. Their vision is to create thriving communities through equal economic participation. This can be achieved through BIPOC entrepreneurs, MEDA services, and community support. They provide BIPOC small businesses with services geared towards helping them and also helping establish their success. Head to MEDA.net if you want to learn a little bit more about all of their services. As we come to a close of Career Month, I wanted to share just a little bit more. There's one more event. Tomorrow is the U of M Virtual Career Fair. So those who are looking for opportunities, you can check that out. But also next month is March, and it's also National Women's Month. And we have 2 programs that we're leading to signify that. We have a Women in Entrepreneur panel on March 10th, and also our Women in Power series, which is a 3-part series with the Women's Center at the University of Minnesota, starting on March 16th. You can learn more about that by visiting our website. Lastly, a couple of housekeeping things, and then we'll get started. Just wanted to let you know you can tune in via the chat and also listen in on your computer. But if you need to, you can also call in and dial in the number that you see here on the screen. You can dial 945-4875-6877, which is the ID for this panel. And then we will be taking questions from the audience. We've collected a few, as you've seen in the registration, and we'll have it in a moderated portion. But at the end, we'll leave about 15 minutes for audience questions. If you have questions, feel free to add those to the Q&A bar. It's at the bottom of your screen. You see Q&A, you can add questions in there anytime, and then we'll get to those at the end of the panel. Now it's my pleasure to start introducing some of our panelists. And as I introduce them, you'll start to see them pop up and say hello. The first panelist that I want to introduce is Demola Gundape. Demola is the co-founder and CEO of Civic Eagle, an innovative data and software company that uses artificial intelligence to interpret and predict public policy. In his capacity as CEO, he's raised over $4 million from leading venture capitalists and generated millions in revenue. He's a 2011 graduate from the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management. Good morning. Welcome, Demola. How you doing?
I'm good, Steve. Hi, everybody.
Thank you. The next person I want to introduce is Dr. Kristen Morris. Dr. Kristen Morris is a speaker, global facilitator, learning and development strategist, and a DEI and performance improvement consultant. As a transformational leader, she has over 16 years of experience fostering relationships with corporate, nonprofit, and private and government organizations. Kristen holds a bachelor's and master's in human resource development and adult education from the University of Minnesota and a doctorate from Capella University in Performance Improvement Leadership. Welcome, Dr. Morris.
Hello, welcome. Happy to be here.
Thank you. The next person I want to introduce is Gloria Freeman. Gloria is the founder and CEO of Minneapolis-based Olu's Homes Incorporated, Olu's Beginnings, Olu's LLC, and many other small businesses. She saw a critical need for community-based services and has dedicated her career to filling that need in the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur. While developing her businesses, Gloria has continued her education by participating in Small Business Administration Emerging Leaders Initiative, an intensive MBA level training program for executives of high potential. And in addition, Gloria has attended the Harvard Business Publishing through the Women's Presidents Organization and is a MEDA Entrepreneur of the Year Award winner. So welcome, Gloria.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello. Thank you.
Absolutely. The next person I want to introduce is Rosalind Frederick. Rosalind is the founder and CEO of Rosalind's Candle and Rosalind's Place, which provides 100% soy candles that are hand-pured in recycled glasses. As an African immigrant from Cameroon that moved to the United States at the age of 14, it has been a dream of hers to become a business owner at some point. And she is a proud graduate from the College of Liberal Arts in 2012. Welcome, Rosalind. All right. And the last person, but not least, that we want to introduce is Darryl Thompson. Darryl Thompson is the president of the comprehensive, well-known Minnesota youth program, Bolder Options. He has grown the program to over 4,500 kids annually in the Twin Cities Metro, recently expanded the program to his hometown, Rochester, Minnesota, and he leads 13 full-time employees and more than 25 volunteer advisory committee members in the Bolder Options mission, teaching youth to succeed in all of life's races. Darryl is often remembered as one of the most decorated athletes to graduate from John Marshall High School in Rochester, Minnesota, and is the leading rusher in University of Minnesota Gopher football history, and a first-round draft pick for the Green Bay Packers, where he played for 5 years before dedicating his life to at-risk youth in Minnesota. Welcome, Darryl.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone.
All right. Well, this is the panel that we have for today, and I am really excited to learn a little bit more about each one of you and kind of share your journey. We're going to start off by talking about your journey and how you kind of come to the point to where you are. We'll go around and give everybody an opportunity to kind of share a little bit more of that. And the question is really what inspired you to become a business owner, and what are some successes and challenges that you've learned along the way? And I'm going to start with Rosalind to kind of open this up in this conversation.
Hi, everyone. I didn't have my mic on earlier. Sorry about that. I actually did not intend to be an entrepreneur. I consider myself a very accidental entrepreneur. So my undergrad was in sociology and psychology. And then I did a year in grad school in clinical psychology, and I intended to become a clinical psychologist. But then I worked in Hennepin County and Ramsey County, and I got severely burnt out as a mental health provider, a case manager. And so every night after I would get home from work, I would burn a ton of candles just to help me kind of unwind from the day. I was pretty frugal. I've always been kind of frugal because I wanted to pay off my car loan and my student loans pretty quickly. And so I just started to figure out ways to make my own candles. I traveled to New York at some point just to go to this Airbnb experience, and I wanted to become a candle maker after taking the class. And so I just started, I had a launch party, which I didn't realize launch party. I had my friends over, and we made a bunch of candles from all of my years of collecting jars jars. I'm very into sustainability and zero waste living. And so my friends actually pushed me to do it. They saw how to make candles. You're using high quality ingredients, filling the need for what a lot of candle makers, a lot of candle burners also do is they have all these pretty jars they don't know what to do with. And so I decided to just go for it. And it became a thing. Or to 2 years later, we have a storefront in Minneapolis, and Central and Larry in Northeast Minneapolis. We're getting a storefront in St. Paul. We have a grand opening for March 4th on Friday, next Friday, at Keg and Case. And then we also still have e-commerce and online sales. And so, and our candles are in 25 stores in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So it's been a journey.
Great, great. We'll keep this going. And the next person I wanted to answer that question is Demola. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, what inspired you, and some of the challenges that you face?
Yeah, for me, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I started, or before Civic Eagle, I'd started a few companies in the past. Some worked, some didn't, mostly small businesses or all small businesses. But I knew I wanted to do something in the tech space. So my entire kind of mindset and my energy was going towards, hey, is there a problem that I'm passionate about that, requires maybe a technical solution that can scale? Something that, I was excited about when I was an undergrad was like the Silicon Valley tech startup journey, right? I think, what was that Facebook movie came out in undergrad? Whatever the Facebook movie came out with, in undergrad that came out. And I was just really passionate about like technology and kind of doing something that was scalable and venture backable, but within a problem set that I really cared about. And for me, I've always been interested in public policy. I've always been interested in politics. So, there was kind of this, this point in my life where I knew I wanted to do something. I knew kind of thematically the space in the industry that I wanted to apply that entrepreneurial focus to. And when I identified the problem that I cared about, which was like, hey, there may be a better way of being able to get access to public policy data in a way that you can apply, AI and natural language processing to, and maybe you can yield some interesting results and see if there was a market for that. It took a while to kind of understand where, we really fit into the marketplace, but me kind of having that intentionality around, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do something in the tech space, something that's scalable and venture backable because of, just a general interest in that, but solving a problem that I was passionate about and I felt like actually had an impact in the world and moved the needle in the world. That's why I was able to kind of just, hey, make a decision and say, I'm going to do this.
Awesome. Sounds like a great story. Dr. Morris, can you share a little bit more about your journey?
Sure. So, I thought that I had found my forever organization. It met my needs. The language that they spoke, the mission, the vision, I was all in. And so I thought, I feel like I can retire in this organization, from this organization. And when I started working on my doctorate in school, I realized the field of performance improvement encompassed everything that I had been doing up until that point. And I had a realization to go, I don't know if I want to do this one thing forever. And I thought there's so much more to my field and my area. And I can, I always lead with my heart and wanting to be a blessing to other organizations and help them do their best work. And I thought, well, I can actually take everything that I've learned and apply it in a way that is strategic and helps organizations in the Twin Cities succeed and beyond, right? So it's not just organizations in the Twin Cities, but I realized in about 2016, I thought I should be doing something else. I feel like, okay, maybe I need to branch out and not be in this organization forever because I'll be doing the same thing, right? And so how can I really utilize my skills in a way that I can be excited about and I feel like it is exciting and it's never a dull moment. And not that my job wasn't, I just knew that there was more. And I started to talk to folks and I started to branch out and I thought, okay, I remember when I started my undergrad at the U. Thought, maybe it might be great to own a business one day, own my own business. And to be faced with that realization in that moment um, was eye-opening, but it was something that I'm so glad that I made the decision to do.
Thank you for sharing. Darryl, could you talk a little bit about your journey?
Sure. I mean, the journey for me was around, my parents were both involved with youth. And when I was a kid, my dad was an engineer and my mom was a school teacher, and there was kids around our house all the time. Even when they got divorced, my parents still like volunteering and mentoring people and kids and youth in the community. And I started doing it when I was playing college ball, and it continued. And when I got done, I was kind of trying to find my niche, and I stumbled upon this program, and we've been able to grow it, like I said, like you said earlier, tremendously. But I think to me, it was around the passion of trying to make a difference in the life of a young person. And to make it exponential, you need to have people like with you and working, along, side you. So, I mean, that part to me, being able to grow our organization over the course of the last, 27 years, and the youth that we've been able to engage has made it exciting for me to still come to work every single day.
Man, that sounds good. All right, well, let's close out with Gloria. You can share with us a little bit more of your journey. I know you own a lot of different businesses.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. I own a few other businesses, but when I first started before I started my business, actually what happened was I was laid off from my job. I was an underwriter for an insurance company. And at the time, it gave me some time to really think about what I really wanted to do. I wasn't real happy in that industry. It was slow pace, and it just wasn't me. And I was married at the time, and my husband had owned a hair salon. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to have the first Black spa in the Twin Cities? And so I ended up going to school to learn osteology, which is the skin care. And before I finished school, my husband divorced me or left me. So that it was kind of a tragic time for me, actually. But I still felt like I didn't want to go back into that industry. And I tried a few different businesses, and it didn't work until I ended up with the Olu's Home Inc. And I grew that business. And then I opened up an early childhood with my daughter. And now I'm tapping into another boutique à trois, which is a different kind of business. It's actually almost like a full circle, because I'm going to do incubator spaces for people in the health and beauty industry.
Wow. So the theme that I'm hearing is like, everybody has decided to create your own pathway and create your own journey based upon a need that you think you can fulfill and have a passion towards, which is, a step in the journey in itself, to take that leap of faith and go out on your own to create those opportunities. And I think, as, Black entrepreneurs, you had to navigate a lot of different things in order to get to the spot where you're at now. But I want to go to a question that really talks about, as you were forming a lot of your entrepreneur businesses, what made you decide which structure that you wanted to set it up as? Because there are many different structures, many different ways that you can set up, your business and how you want it to operate, in different ways you can incorporate it. I know there's a lot of differences in how you guys are doing your services or your products. So I want to just kind of dive in some questions to kind of hear a little bit more about how you structured your business. I'll start with Demola, because as you kind of started, as an app-based, really thinking about digital and kind of scaling that up from a standpoint of public policy, like how were you able to structure your business?
Yeah, I think the main thing to keep in mind is deciding how you want to finance your business first, right? So, some folks bootstrap it, just putting their money into the business. Debt financing, so going to a bank or a small business loan. Revenue financing, so basically you have a product, sell it right away, and then reinvest it into the company, or venture financing, right? Venture financing meaning that you're taking on risk capital, right? And we decided that we wanted to do this to build our company and build our product with venture financing. And there's some requirements around venture financing, right? Which is you're taking on that risk capital to put it to work very quickly from VC firms. You're putting it to work very quickly, and you're trying to build your product quickly and scale your product to as many customers or consumers, users as possible. And that's the route that I wanted to take. I was very kind of intentional around saying like, hey, I want to build a venture backable business that can scale, that utilizes more technology, both as a form of the product, but also as a distribution channel. So we incorporated as a Delaware C Corp because we knew that we were going to take on venture capital. So that means that for us, like it's other structures like an LLC or an LLP are like pass-through structures where the people that run the business own the business, and like they are them and one or two other people are kind of like the managers / owners. I am more of a shareholder of the business, right? I own a significant amount of our business, but I don't actually own the majority amount, right? We've got venture capitalists that have come in, put money in, and they get equity, put money into the company, and they get equity from that. I report to a board of directors. So, for us, like as kind of, again, deciding how we wanted to finance our business, the market in which we were trying to finance from, agreeing that the type of business we were trying to build could be financed in that sort of way, meaning that they believe that this was a venture backable business that could scale with technology, behind it. And then understanding kind of what that means and who my stakeholders are, and kind of what that means for me as CEO and as one of the co-founders of the company, was really important. So that's the way that we're structured.
So a follow-up question to that: how did you define the circles of venture capitalists that wanted to invest in your company?
And that's one of the tough things, especially as a Black founder, and a Black founding team, right? Like there's historically not a lot of venture capital dollars that go towards, teams that are built by people of color, or companies that are built by people of color, or have people of color at the helm. So that was a journey. The first investor that we raised money from was a Black woman named Arlen Hamilton. And when she invested, like her entire thesis was finding and investing in underrepresented founders, underrepresented companies that are led by underrepresented founders. So, that kind of got the ball rolling, where we were able to kind of, go out, pitch, look, basically just try to find investors through our network, the people that I know, build relationships with, have them introduce me to other people, pitch to those investors, really talk about the vision, what we're trying to do. And then hopefully get buy-in, and hopefully have somebody that believes enough in what you're doing early on to write a check, so that you can then, do what you want to do, and then go back out to the capital markets and raise more money. So really, I guess to summarize it, it's really about doing the best you can to build a network and to build relationships so that you can get in front of those investors, those venture capitalists and those venture capital firms. And then, being able to articulate a vision at the early stages, and then later on being able to deliver on that vision, and then, go out and raise more capital based off of like your ability to execute and with that track record of execution. But it really just comes down to like, can you build those networks? Can you build those relationships? And for Black people, it's a lot more difficult because we don't have, an uncle that is a managing partner at some VC firm in Silicon Valley, right, or on Sand Hill Road. So you have to work really, really hard to find and build those relationships over time.
Yeah. Thank you for those nuggets. I want to pose this question also to Rosalind, because I know you have both an e-commerce structure, and now you have brick and mortar locations in the Twin Cities. Could you talk a little bit more about how you kind of structure your business and why you decided to go that route?
Yeah. So in the beginning, can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. In the beginning, when I started the business, I was working full time, and so was my husband. So it was supposed to be a hobby. So when I started the LLC, it was sole proprietor LLC, and it still is. So I'm the sole proprietor of it, and it was my side gig and my side thing that I did in the summers at markets. When the customer demand for my candles grew, I didn't take out debt, like similar to what you're saying, Demola. I kind of did revenue financing. So I did a ton of markets, and saved a ton of money. So I never touched that money ever. I reinvested it back into the candles. So my inventory grew bigger so that if somebody came to me and said, I want 100 candles by tomorrow, I was able to have a turnaround that was like very quick. So because of that, I became more of a reliable maker, a product maker, so that people knew that I wasn't going to say, hey, I need a month of building up my revenue before I can make A and B for you and your store. So I just kept all the money in my bank account. I listened to a lot of books by other businesses of business owners that knew what they were doing, specifically product business owners, because I have a product and I needed to sell it. I needed to make sure that my product was unique and that the product I was making makes sense in the market that I was trying to sell to. So I had to figure out who my target audience was, which meant working with a data analyst to go, hey, so here's what I'm selling and here's what I'm yielding as far as like my profits goes at the end of the month. And then here's my target or the average person that buys my candles and how much they spend per order. So we did projection data so that we can figure out, okay, so in a month or in a week and in a year, how much can we actually promise our customers that we can make for them? So that's how it started. I just did e-commerce because I was like, just dive into the e-commerce. You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to pay a bunch of workers. It was just me in my basement. We bought a house that was bigger on purpose so that I could spend the whole basement, which was like a good 1,000 square foot of space where there was no TV, nothing going on down there, just me and my production space. And there was still like enough room where I could do whatever I wanted and then go upstairs in the evening and leave production downstairs. So that's how I cut down rent. And I used my tax accountant help me to part of my mortgage. Half of my mortgage was on my house was paid by we claimed it in our taxes at the end of the year. So we had to get really creative with not spending because we didn't want to take out debt right away for e-commerce, especially in e-commerce on a product that was very low cost to make. Like my margins were super high with being that I was making my own candles myself and I was controlling what happens with the product and with the inventory. So that really helped us. So like I had free range to kind of do whatever I wanted. And so when the need to restructure the business came about, it was because of, again, customers were asking me, when do I get to smell your candles? How often do we go to markets? When is your next market? And I was like, I can't promise you that I'll go to 7 markets a month because I don't know how many times the markets are happening. What I can do is I can look into a store. Will you come to the store? So we did like a soft survey to customers to say, how many of you will actually come to our store? And the numbers were astounding. Well, people were like super excited. So I got out on the streets and started looking for a storefront and we hired a leasing agent to help us figure out, that we were making sure that we were not paying above the market rate for retail space in our street because every single street is different. So we just I did it and I quit my day job because I was making the candles were yielding enough profit that it could support itself. So my husband and I sacrificed one income so that we could focus on the income from the candles were going in the business, and then the other income from the other person in the household was going into the household. So it was a lot of sacrificing, and then also knowing, to the most point, knowing that I don't have a trust fund somewhere. I don't have somebody in the back of the line that had all this money saved up for me. I don't have grandpa and grandma or great grandpa and grandma's money to go cash into for my business. It's very, very frugal and creative. And yes, sacrificing that one income house was easy for us to do because we both had full-time careers, but I can't imagine being in another space where if I didn't have a partner at home that was like, I'm ready to sacrifice that for you, if I would have been able to do it. And so when it came down to the storefront being open, banks said no to us, completely denied us of any kind of debt funding. So I knocked on doors of nonprofits. So I went into different nonprofits and said, here's my story, here's my brand, here's my business plan that I've worked really hard on. And what can I do for you to give me money? And so eventually we found somebody who had an investor, who had that mom and dad and that grandpa that set aside money for them, that was willing to give us storefront. It was not very much money, but enough for us to build that money for the store. And the store took up so much that our revenue went up and skyrocketed. And so I was like, we got to hire people. And so and then we got to open a second store so that we can St. Paul customers and Minneapolis customers, because now that our whole store is focused on sustainability, and customers have to bring jars back so that we can refill them and wash them. And a lot of people, we were noticing that all of our St. Paul people were collecting their jars for us to come pick it up from their house. and I didn't offer that program anymore. And so they pushed me to go to St. Paul. And so again, it's always me waiting to see what do the customers need, and not what I need and what I want to do. It's like, who is my target audience? What do they need? What can I do to fulfill what they want to see? And also at the same time being strategic about it and talking to all kinds of people. Like I'm no stranger to not knowing things. And so I talk to a ton of people who own businesses and other product people and other storefront managers. And so it was a lot.
Yeah, well, I am happy to see that your business is featured in the Minnesota alumni market as another way to kind of support your growth and over the recent years. And as we kind of talk about a little bit of the structure and the journey, I kind of want to transition the question a little bit and add the piece about the resources and that support structure, because it's something that's important, especially for for Black businesses to kind of seek out and find. So I'm going to ask Gloria, in the many businesses that you operate and own, with the structures that you've set in place, how were you able to find resources and support to help you grow those businesses? I know you were featured as a MEDA Entrepreneur of the Year, and can you talk a little bit more about how you use some of the support around you to help grow the things that you've built? You're on mute right now, sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah, of course, MEDA is one of those avenues, the CDFI nonprofit that really helps. You can find answers through them, and they could navigate. When I first bought my commercial building, MEDA, my bank denied me the loan that I had been with them for years, and they denied the loan. And so that's how I end up with MEDA during that time. And they helped me find a bank that was willing to take the chance to give me the loan. I've been through different programs, the Goldman Sachs program. I'm involved with the Ernst & Young EAM program. I'm in a group called WOO Women Elevating Women, WPO Women President Organization. So I believe that those are the resources that I have that helps me navigate the system to find out where I can get, answers when I need them, and finances. So, yeah.
Great. I want to ask Darryl a little bit about some of that resources as well. You've really grown Bolder Options to be a very prominent figure here in Minnesota with all of the services that you offer for the youth. I'm interested to learn how you've helped to grow that by using some of the communities and getting the word out to help get more people to become mentors to these youth. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. I think Demola did a really good job of explaining the revenue model. And when you're operating a nonprofit, the revenue model is the community. So we're asking the community for support. So in the beginning, our budget was like a $15,000 budget, and last year it was a $1.5 million budget. So that's the growth's been exponential. It's taken years to get there, but that's the focus for us, is to be able to, if we're going to engage in more kids, we need more revenue to be able to do it. And the main piece is through grants, it's through individuals, it's through special events, and those are the areas that we drive revenue into our organization to be able to pay our workers, my co-workers, to be able to work with the youth and to engage the youth in our community. So it's really through the individual time that we have with the donors in our community that can expand and allow us to work with more kids.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and Dr. Morris, I know you also offer a lot of services and consult with a lot of different organizations, and I know that has created more opportunities for you to network and kind of get your name out there. But interested to learn a bit from you and your perspective of the resources that you've used to help grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing for me starting out was to network with mentors, network with individuals who are in the industry that you're interested in knowing more about or going into. So, I'm in this field of performance improvement. It includes learning and development and training and development, organizational effectiveness. And so what I did was I said, what's the language that other organizations are using in this space? How can I be successful? Are you willing to open your network up for me? And just having those informal interviews with people who are in the industry that you want to go in, I think has been really critical. But the other thing is to connect with organizations that can help you be successful. So for instance, as a Black woman, I have connected with an organization locally called the Activate Network. And so they take women of color, especially Black women, under their wing, and we have workshops, and we are digging into our numbers. We're getting honest about our budgets, our goals, and how to scale our business in a way that is profitable. And I realized that after going through different programs, you know, I want to be able to have a seven-figure business, right? But that's going to take some work. And so putting the plans in place to do that has been absolutely instrumental in me being successful. And I started my business in 2019, and I have quadrupled my revenue. But it was through those resources and doing that professional development that I needed to do as a business owner. This is not, a side hustle. This is my bread and butter. And so I left my corporate job for this to take over. And so now that it has, it's staying connected to organizations and people and a cohort of individuals who get you, that you can talk about, the struggles of being a Black woman business owner, to talk about the successes and find ways to navigate that in a way that you put a plan in place to be successful. And so now I have a community of women that support me and I support them, and we can have honest conversations that help us propel and thrust ourselves into whatever success looks like for our businesses. And in addition to that, then connecting with national organizations too, and being connected with organizations such as the Women's Business Development Center, and getting on their calls and getting access to organizations that are talking about what it takes to be a supplier diversity, right? And so being able to get through these programs that are free often. All you got to do is show up. I think has been absolutely instrumental. But then also know that for me, and I hear Demola and Rosalind they've gone through different methods and ways to get their businesses started. For me, it was, just starting from the ground up and networking to get my first contract, right? I didn't have to put anything into my business. And so because I'm selling a service, I wanted to be able to do that in a way that made sense. And so I think for business owners and those who are hoping to go into being an entrepreneur, also understanding that as much as you have to invest in your business, you have to invest in yourself. And so for me, that was as much professional development that I can get my hands on. And that meant financial investment, right? But it was the investment in myself that allowed me to get clear on my goals and then the trajectory of my business and what I wanted to do.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I definitely believe wholeheartedly in continuing to learn and develop your own skills, especially as you grow your businesses. You have to, be a continuous learner, lifelong learner, and, use that to your advantage to continue to evolve your businesses. And I know a number of you have mentioned some great resources. I'm going to ask after the panel to get all these resource names so we can share this with the audience, because I'm sure there are a number of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs out in the audience that would love to kind of get some of this information. And before we turn it over to the audience to ask some questions, once again, if you do have questions, please pose those in the Q&A area or the chat. We'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to kind of close this moderated session with you all providing one piece of advice for those entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs that you would have liked to have had learned or known it was part of your journey or something that you know that would help someone on their journey. And I'll start this question off with Demola, if you can share just one piece of advice that you have.
I gotta think of it as like quick as hell. And I don't know. I guess something that I wish I would have known earlier on. Relationships and partnerships are really important. Like very, very critical. Like you don't build a business and then build the relationships. You build the relationships and then you build the business. All right, Kristen said something earlier, right? Like service-based business, but she's built great relationships, right? So she was able to go out and get that first customer, right? That first client. So I think, and it's just something that people I think under invest in is just kind of building those relationships and continuing to invest in them. But it's really critical, right? Those are the people that are going to be your co-founders. Those are the people that are going to be your business partners. Those are going to be the people that are your first client or your first customer, your first investor. And not everything, especially in the Twin Cities, like we're very relationship based and not as transactional as I think we would all like the Twin Cities to be. I think that we should be a little bit more transactional than we are. But the good thing about that is people are interested in you in the Twin Cities. They will build pretty authentic and genuine relationships. Whether or not they turn into transactional relationships is what we got to figure out in the Twin Cities, but at least they'll build kind of those relationships with you. So invest in that. After a call like this, right, reach out to people. If somebody says something interesting that you like send an email follow-up, right? Ask for a little bit more time. Like really, really, really focus on building those relationships early on. And I think it'll pay dividends as you build your business.
Thank you for that. Dr. Morris, you have a piece of advice you can share.
Yeah, I would say operate in your strength. And what I mean by that is, as a business owner, I am not, I took a lot of time and energy in marketing. That is not my strength. I needed more creative time to be able to work on my craft, work on my business goals. When I get a contract, I want to be able to read it, but I want somebody who can do that for me, right? And so when I say operating your strength, know when to outsource and don't spend that time and energy to do that. So then I have a small marketing team, right, who will put together marketing material or backdrops for LinkedIn posts for my business. And I have my lawyer who will look over my contracts or my individual contractor agreements. And so that takes valuable time away from what you need to be doing in your business. And yes, it is an investment, but it is one that is worth it because then you can focus on your business. And so just understanding where you need to outsource is going to be absolutely critical in the success of your business. Understanding though, that there's a lot of it that I had to do myself initially, but it doesn't always have to be that way. And so know that you have to put in some foundational work, right? And generate the revenue to put aside dollars for that. But once you get there, outsource. Find you a good team of folks.
Great. Yeah, build that community. Rosalind.
For anybody in the product like market or business, I would say just launch your product and test it with your friends and family. Don't be afraid to put it out there. I know it's very nerve-wracking to make something and to just hold on to it because you don't know if it's going to be received well. Well, you're not going to know whether or not it's received well unless you actually launch it. And it's hard. So which means for me, launching it meant I just went to markets that were as a maker. It was free to go to them. So that's a very good way to test your product and let people know, this is what I make and get their feedback. And I give out a lot of free product in the beginning, ton of free product. It was my way of testing the product. You've got to launch it before you know. And in the beginning, don't spend too much money on trying to launch your perfect product. Launch it as it is and then see how it meets the market and then tweak it after you launch it. Because spending all that time, energy, and money on something that you don't know will be received well yet, you could end up in a hole for something that may not have been well received. My first candle never burnt, but I had to keep trying and keep launching and keep testing it with my friends and family, and they gave me feedback. So that's my one piece of advice for anyone who is in the product world.
Yeah, great. Got a beta test and prototype in order to learn. Darryl, can you share your piece of advice?
Yeah, I think you've got a lot of great advice so far. And for me, and I think we've all done it, I think it's finding a mentor. I mean, everyone here probably has some mentors, and I have people that I bounce ideas off of, and I'm like, oh, I think this is, I think I should do this. How would you handle this? How do I get in the door here? What do you think? I mean, those pieces to me have been the key to us being able to grow our business, Boulder Options and other business ventures I've been a part of. And I think Rosalind pointed out a really good one earlier, be frugal. She's like, she's like, she had a plan. I mean, everyone on the screen's got a plan, but Rosalind, she walked us through. It's like, she was like, hey, in the basement, got a storefront, test, you got to have a plan, and you got to be frugal, especially in the beginning, because some of those big painful losses can scare you away forever sometimes. So those are my two little pieces of advice.
Great, thank you. And Gloria, what's your piece of advice?
All of them were really great advice, but I also think that you should stay true to your vision. Don't allow that self-negative talk in your head distract you. I think that's, for me, that was a big issue for me when I first started. Can I do it? Well, I've never been in this arena. Why, so just make sure that you stay true to your vision and don't let that negative voice control what you do.
Yeah, you got two on your shoulder, one talking crazy, one of them saying, keep going. Got to listen to that one, right? Nice. Well, I appreciate you guys on answering some of those questions. We're going to open it up to the crowd. Once again, if you have questions, please add those to the Q&A. We have the president of the Black Alumni Network, Sarah Baraki, is helping me kind of navigate those, and we'll pop in here and kind of ask some of those questions. So I'm going to pass it to Sarah if you have a question in the Q&A to present to the panel.
Thanks, Steve, and thank you to all the panelists for sharing your bits and pieces of your journey. There are two questions. One is, and this is from Jesse Lewis, are there any up and coming Black businesses that you're paying attention to? Or is there an industry or sector that you're seeing Black people gaining steam in that you're excited about?
I'm going to let you all jump in on that. Good.
Yeah, mine are more tech industry in scope, but there's a company, a Black led team, a team led by Black folks called Qualify, that's trying to kind of rethink the way that, with technology, the way that companies do their initial phone screenings for new hires, and making sure that it's more scalable with this kind of like employment crunch that we're in, and folks looking for new jobs and trying to figure things out. Obviously there's been the Great Resignation. So they've built out a really, I think, strong business thesis. And there's a few investors in Minnesota that invested in their company, and they're based including me. So I will admit that I have a vested interest, but they're based in California, but a really great company ran by a smart team. And then the sector that I think is interesting is fintech, right? Financial services. A lot of minorities are underbanked, and there's a lot of companies that are coming out right now that are trying to solve that problem, right, of banking the unbanked, and doing it in a way that isn't predatory, like we've seen other banking institutions do in the past. So fintech, I think, is really interesting, and there's more people of color getting into that space and solving really important problems.
Anybody else want to answer that question? Go ahead, Rosa.
I think for me, I've seen a lot of Black women own product businesses become stronger over time. So in my store, I have several product lines that are, because our store doesn't just sell candles, it sells other gifts. And there's several Black women that make stuff that are in my store. And there's one of them that I can think of right now. She's not in my store, but Lip Esteem. She Lip Esteem. So she makes lipstick that are vegan friendly and cruelty free. And she's just bulldozed the whole thing. And like, she's been on all kinds of television networks, including like been like on the series on Hulu and all this stuff to help her go from an apartment building business to like she has a storefront in St. Paul. So there's just like so many, I would say like going to, for me as a maker and also somebody who has to recruit makers, going to the Black market every once in a while and meeting all these phenomenal Black owned businesses that are really thriving. And for me, I'm in that niche of Black men in product makers and trying to make sure that we are different from Target in whatever ways possible, but also someday can get into Target. So yeah, there's a ton. Like if you go to the Black market, it happens once a month on the second Saturdays of every month in St. Paul. And there's just a ton of people there where you can go in and basically shop for your whole beauty line in one day. So yeah.
Well, you're speaking about, you know, some of those connection points that you have and like some of those events and networks. I'm actually interested to kind of hear that because, you know, what are some networking groups? You know, the Black Alumni Network is one vessel that we're using with the Alumni Association to try to keep our Black alumni together, but thinking about your businesses and, you know, some of the networks that you associate with. Could you share a little bit of some of those as well?
Yeah, I'd say the big one that I talked about, if I had a banner, I would put it up here, but the Activate Network, it's just been really instrumental and the programming that is offered, I think is second to none. It is first in class. And the opportunities that it has allowed my business to gain, you know, different things like certification so that I can not only scale my business, but then now I have government contracts. So now I'm working with the federal government. I'm working with local and state governments as well. And so I think those businesses that you start with have an opportunity to get you connected to other businesses, right? Outside of just the Activate Network. So I just cannot say enough about how great it's been and how I wish I would have done that sooner as I was on the exploratory phase of my business, but it has met the moment for sure and continues to do so.
Yeah, I mentioned WOO Women, Elevating Women. It's an international, we meet through Zoom, but there are women in from Dubai, England, all over the world. And what they do, they base their, so it's a support system for women of color. And they base their work using I think the 5 pillars of business. I can't think of the 5 pillars right now, but maybe I'll go look them up after this panel. But I love that group. I'm a new member of that. Then there's WPO, but WPO, Women President Organization, you have to be $1 million in revenue to be able to, it might be 2 million, 1 to 2 million to be able to become a member of that group. There's other groups like the Goldman Sachs, which does a lot of training. And actually, when I went through the Goldman Sachs program, they provided a number. I stayed like 2-3 weeks in Boston, and we went through all kinds of programs to help support entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. I know I want to be respectable of everyone's time. It's been an hour and this has been really great. You know, things that you all have shared and resources. As I mentioned, I will piggyback with all the things that they've mentioned and include that in the follow-up email. Wanted to thank everybody for your time today and really kind of sharing those nuggets. For the crowd, I want to leave you with a few things so that you are aware. Currently right now, after this session, you will get a follow-up email. In the follow-up email, I will include some of those resources as well as a survey. And if you complete this survey, we're doing a giveaway this month, and it's really pertaining to career coaching. We have a sponsorship with Happiness Hunt, and they're providing a free career coaching package with a value of $1,000. The package includes an initial assessment, customized career plan, 3 coaching sessions, and ongoing support for 3 months. And we're going to select 3 winners that's going to be announced on March 16th. So please, when you get the survey, share your thoughts, share your feedback. Just by doing that, you're entered into the opportunity to win this. Plus, we also, just so if you didn't know, the Minnesota Alumni Market, which is alumni-owned businesses featured from the Minnesota Alumni Association, has really opened the doors to provide more support for alumni businesses. As I mentioned, Rosalind, her business is already featured on the market, but there's more opportunity to get your business listed. We have a business directory, and we're trying to build out our entrepreneur support and resources available to help you grow your businesses. So I encourage you, if you haven't, go to Minnesota Alumni Market and check it out. We have a promotion, and you'll get this in your follow-up email for those who want to list their businesses. We're providing a steep discount at that, plus some other promotional offers with it. So I definitely encourage you to do that and join us as we continue to help you grow your businesses. But with that, I wanted to, like I said, thank you and all of the panelists. Thank you for your time today in this lunch hour. Hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And this was recorded, so we will share this afterwards to everyone to continue to spread the word. But you know, I'm really inspired by your journeys and everything that you're doing, and I hope others have kind of felt that same presence. So thank you once again.